A humid summer evening settles over a small town street. On that quaint lane, the kind you might find receding into the background of faded memories, a man slams his front door. His face, a tapestry of frustration, flushed in mottled heat. You might say it's the heat of the evening, but look closer. This is no ordinary heat. It is a physical echo of the chaos within. As he rushes inside, the door, acting on its own defiance, catches his finger in the jamb. He snatches his hand back, anger flaring in his eyes, frustration pulsing in his fingertips. And here, in this small moment of domestic disturbance, a larger drama unfolds, the unmasking of a so-called director of small-town deceptions. Perhaps, just perhaps, the influence of what some call the devil isn't a masterstroke but rather a clumsy sketch, a hand betrayed by arrogance. Here lies our question. What happens when the creator of chaos becomes ensnared by his own devices? In the silent realms of observing human folly, there exists a bitter truth, despised by those who pride themselves on manipulation. The myth of a devilish mastermind, perfect in its calculated mimicry versus its faltering reality. The tale has it, the devil is not the sharp architect of malevolence, but rather a prisoner of his self-created pride. With arrogance comes a staggering ignorance, and when faced with resistance, his desperate grasp becomes erratic, misleading. Consider now Elias, a man whose life has been a masquerade. For years, under the guise of a calming veneer, he cultivated a reputation of control in a community that glitters with assumptions. But yet, when faced with a shifting world, his carefully constructed facade begins to unravel. The neighbors who once saw a smooth operator now sense an unraveling, a leaking presence of fibrous deceit becoming increasingly diluted by truth. His once luminous projection dims, and as the pressures tighten, the truth begins to ooze out, not with calculated confession, but through an involuntarily flushed face, a gateway to his internal disarray. Elias at first resists the unmasking, navigating the familiar paths of his own creation with unwitting clumsiness. He attempts to orchestrate the usual machinations, sowing conflict with a flick of his verbal matchstick. But his tongue, in a rebellious act of fate, bites back, drawing blood that drips with stark reality. In his fumbling attempts to manipulate, he finds the key slipping through his trembling fingers. This man becomes a prosecutor of his own dissent, a spectacle unwittingly crafted by the very pride that aspired to maintain lustrous control. It is here that light pierces through, a realization among those he sought to entangle. Amusement intermingles with pity as they witness, in genuine clarity, the comedy of Elias's missteps. He trips over well-trodden paths, grappling with the familiar as if foreign. All the while, an internal discord mirrors an unassumed and broader truth, that evil, when it encounters stillness, becomes exposed in its mechanics, caught in relentless fury at its impotent struggle. Picture it, the man at a river bend screaming at the current, he that refuses to walk to the bridge, caught up in muddied anguish, hurling stones that land short every time. Then, like a tide receding under sunlight's persistent gaze, the truth becomes starkly visible. The story of our frustrated shadow outlines this simple wisdom. The darkness will often stumble in its own ways when faced with unyielding light. Resistance sometimes simply means refusing to bless an impostor with the struggle it so craves. Avoid that reactive trap, and darkness necessitates its own undoing, consumed by efforts to orchestrate inexistent chaos where none shall respond. Elias stands as a living testament, a man among the smoke of burned bridges, now finding himself in relics of a clumsy rage. There, the foundation myth crumbles, leaving no trick unturned, no shadow passed upon the remains of his unraveling folly. As spectators, the wisdom shared here urges a reflection on where we place the power in those who seek to upend our calm. Are we seeing more clumsiness than competence in those who would spin false fires around us? Or are we, perhaps unwittingly, granting more depth to their performances than they truly deserve? And as the day sinks into the comforts of night, we are left with a question that lingers as softly as a breeze through an open window. In your world, with your obstacles, does the shadow play out those same follies, or does it yet maintain an undisturbed facade? In the end, where does the real power reside, in the show or within the choice to remain caught or free? As you reflect, let it be the guiding light of your vision. Yet as history shows, empires have risen and fallen on the strength or fragility of public perception. In examining our own narratives, it becomes apparent that perspective shapes reality and perception molds fate. Time and again, legends have woven amorphous veils of truth and illusion, blending them so skillfully that they became indistinguishable. The purveyors of distraction and division know this art well, yet do they truly wield control or simply borrow it, as all performers must from their audience? The dichotomy between appearance and essence challenges discerning eyes to look beyond the spectacle, to assess the core of influence and intent. As night descends with a quiet resolve, it encourages a return to grounding principles, urging one to discern whether to be actor or observer in the play of shadows. So, as we sit at the crossroads of decision and discovery, the choice remains profound. Will we settle for illusions or seek the immutable truths hidden within them?